Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And today we're going to be looking at the language of influence.
Ooh,
And this is based on a training course that I've been looking at.
that's good.
And you know how we are always looking for those practical takeaways?
Yeah,
I think we really got them with this one.
sounds good. I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited too. And one of the first things that this trainer really emphasizes is that everyone is an influencer.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. In every interaction, in some way, we're influencing the other person, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Like just thinking about even small things like what to have for dinner or what movie to watch. Like those everyday decisions always involve some level of influence,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're always either consciously or unconsciously trying to steer things in a particular direction.
Uh-huh. So is that what this training is all about? Like becoming more aware of those unconscious patterns and using
Yeah.
them more intentionally?
That's a big part of it, yeah. And he really breaks it down in a way that makes it feel very accessible. I think what really stood out to me was this anecdote he told about a scuba diving instructor.
Okay.
And I'm terrified of open water. Like I wouldn't even get in like a kayak.
Really?
Yeah, I have this fear.
Oh, wow.
But listening to him describe the scuba instructor, it like
Yeah.
made me want to go scuba diving.
That is the power of influence.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
And he wasn't even really like trying to sell scuba diving, it was just his passion for
Uh-huh.
it was so evident
Yeah.
that it made you want to just sign up and do it.
Right. And I bet he probably wasn't even consciously trying to persuade anyone. It was just his natural enthusiasm sort of drawing people in.
Exactly. And that's what the trainer emphasizes, right? It's not about being pushy or salesy. It's about understanding these underlying principles of communication that can help us connect with people on a deeper level.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times when people hear the word influence, they immediately think of manipulation or like some kind of sneaky tactic.
Right.
But this sounds like a much more holistic approach.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he actually presents a really interesting framework for understanding how influence works.
Okay. I like frameworks, lay it on me.
All right. So he talks about this idea of moving someone from their present state to a desired state.
Okay, so it's about like understanding where someone is starting from and then figuring out how to guide them towards where you want them to be.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say you're trying to convince your friend to try a new restaurant.
Okay,
Their present state is, I'm happy with my usual spots.
right.
Your goal is to move them to the desired state of, okay, this place sounds amazing, let's go.
I got it. So how do you bridge that gap?
Well, that's where motivation comes in.
All right, motivation makes sense.
People are driven by what they stand to gain right. It could be something tangible, like a delicious meal, or something more emotional, like the feeling of adventure.
So you have to figure out what the other person's needs and desires are and then tailor your approach accordingly.
You got it. And that's where rapport becomes so important.
Okay, rapport.
It's about building that connection so the other person feels comfortable and trusting enough to be guided towards that desired state.
It's like you're creating this safe space where they feel open to exploring new possibilities.
Exactly. And the trainer really emphasizes that rapport is the foundation for any kind of successful influence.
So we've got present state, desired state, motivation, and rapport. That's a pretty solid framework.
Right. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. The training goes even deeper into some really practical techniques for enhancing your communication and your ability to influence.
Ooh, okay. I'm definitely intrigued. Give me a taste of what's to come.
Well, he talks a lot about sensory acuity.
Sensory acuity, what's that?
It's essentially about becoming a master observer,
A master observer.
paying close attention to the other person's verbal and nonverbal cues.
So like body language, tone of voice,
Yeah.
all those subtle signals.
Exactly, because we communicate so much more than just words.
It's like becoming a human lie detector, but not in a creepy way.
Right, more like becoming a master communicator by understanding the full spectrum of human expression.
Okay, I'm liking this, so we're tuning into those subtle cues. What else?
He even has this little trick for enhancing sensory acuity.
Okay, this, I got here.
It sounds a little strange, but he says to try gently touching your tongue to the roof of your mouth.
What? Really? Why?
He says it helps to quiet your internal chatter and focus your attention outward.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to try that.
It's like hitting the mute button on your own thoughts so you can truly tune in to the other person.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
So we're paying close attention, building rapport, and starting to understand the other person's motivations. What's next in this framework?
Well, once you've got a handle on the other person's communication style, you need to adapt your own approach accordingly.
Okay, I'm failing.
He calls this behavioral flexibility.
Behavioral flexibility.
It's like speaking their language, but not literally, of course.
Right, like mirroring their pace and energy level to create a sense of connection.
Exactly. He tells this great story about how he was selling his house.
Uh-huh.
And this potential buyer came in, and she was talking a mile a minute.
Oh, I hate when people do that.
But instead of getting flustered, he matched her pace,
Oh, that's smart.
which probably made her feel much more comfortable.
Yeah, I bet she felt heard and understood.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that simple act of mirroring probably made her more receptive to his suggestions.
That's fascinating. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here already. Present state, desired state motivation rapport, sensory acuity, behavioral flexibility. Are we ready for some mind-blowing linguistic tricks yet?
Oh, we're just getting started. You're not going to believe how simple yet powerful some of these techniques are.
All right, lay it on me. I'm ready to have my mind blown.
You ready for this? Just adding the word because to a request can make it significantly more persuasive.
Wait, really? Even if the reason you give is total BS?
Even then, he shared a study where people trying to cut in line were much more likely to be successful if they offered any reason at all, even something as silly as, because I need to make a copy.
No way. Our brains are that easily fooled.
Apparently, so it seems like we have this automatic agreement response to the word because, even when the justification is flimsy.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to have to test this out. I'm going to try it next time at the grocery store. Can I cut in front of you because I'm in a rush? I wonder if it'll work.
Let me know how it goes. It's a fascinating example of how language can trigger these unconscious responses in our brains.
That's crazy. All right, so because is a magic word. What other linguistic Jedi mind tricks are we about to uncover?
Well, let's just say you might never look at a simple question the same way again. Buckle up, because we're diving deeper into the world of tag questions, yes sets, and even the intriguing power of A means B.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. Let's
Would
do
be.
it. Okay, so you're telling me there's more to these techniques.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, so how about tag questions?
Tag questions.
Okay. You know those little add-ons we put at the end of sentences, like, isn't it? Or don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
They just make things sound a little bit more conversational.
Right, more friendly.
Yeah, but they also act as these sneaky little nudges towards agreement.
Okay, I'm listening.
When you tag a question on at the end of a statement, you're subtly prompting the listener to confirm what you just said.
Oh, I see.
Like you're preemptively closing off the possibility of disagreement.
So, like, instead of saying, it's a beautiful day, I could say, it's a beautiful day, isn't it?
Exactly, and suddenly it's almost impossible to disagree.
Wow, that's sneaky.
Right, and he takes it a step further. He says, pair those tag questions with a descending voice tone.
Oh, okay.
It creates this air of authority, almost like you're delivering a gentle command rather than asking a question.
Okay, so I'm trying to convince my friend to go on this hike with me. Instead of saying, it'll be fun, right? With all this upbeat energy,
Yeah.
I should say, it'll be fun, won't it? And let my voice kind of trail off at the end.
Exactly. It's a subtle shift, but it can have a surprisingly powerful effect on how your message is received.
Wow, okay, I'm starting to see how this all ties together. So, tag questions for nudging agreement. What else?
How about yes sets?
Yes, that's.
So this one builds on the idea that getting someone to agree with you repeatedly makes them more likely to accept your subsequent suggestions.
So you're like priming their brain for agreement.
Exactly. It's like creating this momentum of agreement.
I can see how this would be super useful in like a sales pitch or a negotiation.
Absolutely. And he uses this technique masterfully throughout the course.
Okay, how so?
So he'll start by stating a series of undeniable truths. Things that everyone in the room can agree on. Like, we're all here today, it's a Tuesday afternoon, we're all interested in learning about influence.
Uh-huh. And then, boom, he slips into a suggestion that's not quite so obvious, but because you've already said yes a bunch of times, you're more likely to go along with it.
Exactly.
That's brilliant. Okay, so tag questions, yes, sets. What other linguistic tricks does this trainer have up his sleeve?
Well, there's one he calls A means B.
A means B.
Okay. And it's all about linking a seemingly unrelated action or fact to a desired outcome.
Okay, I'm not sure I follow. Can you give me an example?
Sure. So imagine you're leading a workshop.
Okay.
You might say something like, the fact that you're all here today means you're committed to personal growth and development.
Ah, I see. You're connecting their presence in the workshop to this positive quality.
Exactly, even though those two things might not be directly related.
Right. It's like you're subtly implanting a suggestion by creating this connection between something that's already true
Uh-huh.
and something you want them to believe.
Precisely. And it can be surprisingly effective. It's like you're bypassing their conscious resistance and speaking directly to their subconscious.
Okay, that's pretty powerful.
Hmm.
So A means B for linking actions to outcomes.
Hmm.
Anything else?
How about headlining with benefits?
Headlining with benefits. That sounds
Yeah.
like something out of a marketing playbook.
Well, there's a good reason for that. It's all about capturing attention by leading with a clear benefit that resonates with the listener's desires. It's like crafting a compelling headline that makes people want to read the article.
Okay, so instead of starting a conversation with a problem or a demand,
Yeah,
you lead with something positive and enticing.
exactly. Remember how the trainer started the course itself? He didn't launch into this dry lecture about the history of influence.
Right, he immediately hooked us by promising to reveal these powerful techniques that could transform our lives.
Exactly. He made it clear from the get-go that we were all about to gain this valuable knowledge and skills.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah.
All these techniques are about framing your message in a way that appeals to the other person's needs and desires.
Exactly. It's not about manipulation. It's about understanding what motivates people and then communicating with them in a way that resonates with their values.
This is really making me rethink the way I approach communication. Okay, so we've got tag questions, yes sets, A means B, headlining with benefits. Did you say there was one more technique? Something about quotes?
Ah, yes, quotes. This one's particularly clever. The idea is that attributing statements to others, even yourself, can bypass conscious resistance and make suggestions more palatable. It's like adding this layer of detachment and authority to your words.
So it's like saying, don't take my word for it. Listen to what this other person has to say.
Exactly, even if that other person is just a different version of yourself.
Right, and he illustrated this with a hilarious anecdote. He was talking about how he wouldn't want to manipulate the audience into buying him a chocolate bar.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. He said something like, look, I'm not going to say go and buy me some chocolate, because that would be manipulative, wouldn't it?
And of course, by saying that he was subtly planting the suggestion in everyone's minds.
Exactly. It's reverse psychology at its finest.
Genius. Okay, my brain is officially buzzing with all these linguistic tricks. It's like we've uncovered this secret code to human behavior.
It's exciting, but also a little daunting, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like we've been given this incredibly powerful tool, but the instruction manual is still a bit fuzzy.
Exactly. So how do we go from being these unconscious influencers to wielding this power intentionally and ethically?
Yeah.
So how do we navigate all this?
Well, for me, one of the biggest takeaways from this training was that an influence is really about connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's about understanding people
Yeah.
and building relationships and communicating effectively.
So less about Jedi mind tricks and more about authentic human connection.
Exactly. And it starts with being a good listener,
Oh, what?
really paying attention to what the other person is saying.
Active listening.
Active listening. Yeah, not just waiting for your turn to speak,
Right.
but really trying to understand their perspective.
It's like that saying, seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Yeah, you got it.
Putting aside your own agenda for a moment and really trying to see the world through their eyes.
Exactly. And once you have that understanding, then you can start to tailor your message in a way that really resonates with them.
Okay.
Frame your requests or suggestions in a way that aligns with their desires and goals.
So instead of trying to force your agenda,
Yeah.
you're finding that common ground,
Right.
working collaboratively towards a win-win solution.
It's like a dance.
Yeah, it is.
You're finding a rhythm and a flow that works for both partners.
This makes me think about all the times I've tried to convince someone of something using just pure logic
Yeah.
and reason,
Yeah.
and it just falls flat.
Right.
But when I can connect with them on an emotional level,
Uh-huh.
find those shared values and motivations,
Yeah.
that's when the magic happens.
You're so right.
Oh.
Logic and reason have their place,
Yeah,
but emotions are really the driving force behind most of our decisions.
totally.
We like to think we're these rational beings.
Yeah.
But the truth is, our emotions play a huge role in how we process information and make choices.
It's like that quote, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And that's where the language of influence can be so powerful. It allows us to tap into those emotional drivers and create connections that go beyond words.
Yeah, so we've talked about authenticity, active listening, emotional connection, but what about those specific techniques we learned? How do we use them in a way that feels ethical and empowering?
Well, let's take the because technique, for example.
Okay.
Instead of using it to manipulate or coerce, you know.
Yeah.
Focus on providing genuine reasons
Right.
that align with your values and your intentions.
Okay.
So instead of saying, can you finish this report by tomorrow because I said so,
Right.
you might say, can you finish this report by tomorrow because we need it for the client meeting on Wednesday?
So it's about transparency and respect.
Exactly.
You're not trying to trick them into doing something.
Right.
You're giving them a valid reason that benefits both parties.
You got it. And the same principle applies to the other techniques. Tag questions can be a great way to check for understanding and create a sense of shared reality. Yes, sets can help you build rapport and establish common ground, but the key is to use them authentically,
Right.
with a genuine desire to connect with the other person and create a positive outcome.
So it sounds like the overarching theme here is intention.
Yeah.
Being mindful of how we're using language and ensuring that our actions are aligned with our values.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's not about using these techniques to get what you want at any cost.
Right.
It's about wielding the power of language responsibly,
Yeah.
with integrity and empathy.
Okay, this has been incredibly insightful. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of the power of language and the responsibility that comes with it. There was one final thought from the training that I keep coming back to.
Okay.
The expert said, "The limits of my language mean the limits of my world."
Wow.
What do you think he meant by that?
That's a profound statement. I think he was highlighting the fact that our language literally shapes our perception of reality.
Wow.
The words we use, the stories we tell ourselves, they create the framework through which we experience the world.
So if our language is limited, our worldview will be limited as well.
Exactly.
So by expanding our vocabulary, exploring new ideas, challenging our assumptions, we can actually expand the boundaries of our own reality.
Absolutely. It's about constantly seeking new ways to express ourselves, to understand the world around us, and to connect with others on a deeper level. The more we learn about language, the more we realize its infinite potential to shape our thoughts, our emotions, and our experiences.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired to pay more attention to my own language and the way I use it to influence the world around me.
Me too. It's a lifelong journey of learning and discovery. And the more we explore the nuances of language, the more we realize its incredible power to create positive change.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground from the basic framework of influence to some seriously clever linguistic tricks. But the most important takeaway for me, at least, is the reminder that with great power comes great responsibility. We all have the ability to influence others whether we realize it or not. And it's up to us to use that power wisely, ethically, and with the intention of creating a better world for ourselves and for everyone around us.
Beautifully said. And remember, the journey of understanding the language of influence doesn't end here. It's an ongoing process of exploration, experimentation, and self-reflection. So keep those minds curious, those ears open, and those words flowing.